I want to make it as fun as possible. All right, Laveena, let's go live. I usually have a really cool trailer, which I don't have now, so I'm just going to pull you right in. So let's get ready. Let's do it. Let's get the applause, at least. Hey, Laveena, welcome to the Kilt.
Hello, hello.
Great to have you. Really excited to have you. Also,
Thanks,
I heard, say happy birthday, Laveena. I think your birthday is in a couple of days. Someone told me, Elf told me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Cool.
Yes.
Well, great to have you. Why did you choose this topic?
Because it's quite important, I feel, and it's one where a lot of people don't think of getting into. And that's why I thought, you know what? We are in testing, but we don't really speak much about this specific topic of how to get into it. We talk about all the fun stuff that's coming out there and all the new things that are coming out there, but what about how do we actually get in? And there's loads of people in the world that are interested. And I'm sure loads of people like me must have fallen into testing, but we didn't have the support back then, which now we've got double, triple, or actually even more. So I wanted to speak about loads of things today and give you like nuggets of information and hopefully help you see in a new test role or maybe switch from another role.
Awesome. Really great. Good to hear this. So it's all yours. Floor's all yours.
Perfect. So today I just wanted to sort of talk about three main areas on testing, basically the misconceptions, the myths, the reasons we should attract testers. So myths, attraction, and also why do people switch? What I mean by this is why do people who are testers might want to switch into a completely different role? There are various reasons behind this, but what can we do to help them stay happy in a testing role is what we're going to discuss as well. So before we get started, actually, I wanted to ask Joe two questions that I think are super, super important.
Uh-oh.
So Joe, over to you.
All right.
So
what?
You were doing your degree or diploma and you decided to get into testing. Did you ever even study about testing in this whole course?
Oh my gosh, no. I took a really weird career path. I started off as a musician going to Berklee College of Music. I then started doing tech support for Microsoft. And then there was a job opening for something called a tester or a QA. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So I grabbed this book, Testing Computer Software. This is both one of the only resources I had. I read it from beginning to end. And I got the job based on this book. So yeah, I had no degree whatsoever that had anything to do with technology or even testing. No, didn't exist.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm on the same boat as well. I literally landed on my first ever job. They rang me and they said, we've taken off the graduate the graduate scheme, and the first role that's come up is of a QA. And I was thinking like, QA, did I even learn about this at my university?
Yep.
Not really. So that just brings the importance that when people are actually at such an early stage of their career and they're trying to learn all things tech, why is testing not a core part of that as well?
Right.
We are trying to deliver quality out there. We are trying to develop amazing products, but what about testing it? It's really, really important. So that just shows that many people might not even know about this field. And if they do, they might not give it that much importance because it's not something that they had visibility of at an early stage of their life. And another question that I have for you, Joe, is why Test Guild? What attracted you to make this guild?
So when I started, it was like 2010. And once again, wasn't a lot of resources out there. So I was just documenting what I was doing as a hands-on automation engineer to share the knowledge. Obviously, there's a lot more resources now, but I just started to share because I think it's an important topic. I really think, I know everyone that has a job think it's the most important job in the world, but I think as testers, everything runs on software nowadays. So we need testers, we need competent people. And that's why I really want to try to evangelize it and get more people excited about it and make it fun as well. So absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Exactly the answer that I was looking for, because thanks to people like you and these sort of platforms we have, that it attracts more testers to think about things, to come up with curiosities, ambiguities when they're coming into testing, or specifically the tools that you showcase as well, Joe. It makes people think that, okay, I am stuck with this sort of problem. I could use this tool that I heard on Joe's webinar.
Yep.
Okay. So it's really, really good and exactly the way to attract more testers into the testing world. So I'm just going to start off now with some misconceptions and myths that we hear a lot in the testing world and that can put some people off, but actually they're just myths at the end of the day. So why worry so much about them? And if you are worried, you have people you can speak to and they should support you to make you feel comfortable rather than make you feel that, yes, these myths can be true actually. So let's start off with the first one that I would like to talk about is the lack of visibility and recognition of testing. So actually, it's a big myth because sometimes things can get undervalued, right? And it's not just testing, other areas can also get undervalued. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't focus on the quality side of things. So bear in mind that an engineering team is made up of loads of different roles, and testing is a core part of it as well. So you are valued and you should feel satisfied because you're finding the most smallest thing that could break something for a customer and make it such a bad experience. So I personally feel so satisfied when I'm trying to find these things by doing exploratory testing, and I would find a most random defect that I would have never found before. And it makes me think, wow, like if we didn't have time to find this one, or we couldn't do this, we couldn't fix this defect, it could have actually led on to domino effect and made more issues or broken down the system completely. So it feels really good. So forget thinking about lack of visibility and recognition. Also, people say this a lot, that we only look for bugs and we upset the dev team or the other
Right.
engineers in our team who are developers. So actually, this is a massive myth because, yes, of course, what is testing about? Testing, especially quality engineering, is all about testing the product and making sure that is doing what it's intended to do. Right. So if we do find these things, we should work hand in hand with our devs and other team members and stakeholders, because all we are trying to do is just help. All we're trying to do is just bring in that quality mindset so that everyone is responsible for quality, not just the testers. So if we do find these things, I think it should be more appreciated. It should be more recognized that we found them rather than, oh, another bug. Oh, I have to fix this again. Wouldn't you rather fix this now than later when actually it gets late and then the costs of fixing it are higher and then it impacts your clients and it's actually impacting the money that could come in that day, but your clients got stuck? So there are cost benefits that you should weigh out and think, and not just worry about, oh, I have to fix it again in the engineering team in general. Another thing that is a myth as well is obviously perceived career progression. So I know someone in my family told me, why don't you become a dev? I think they earn more money and
Right.
things like that. And I was actually that young in my career and I was like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Actually, I took the right decision. I shouldn't, because I feel that I had something in me to think with curiosity, bring things to the table and be ambiguous, because I find these things really interesting. And of course, I respect all other roles and they're amazing because we are doing a great job by delivering things day in, day out in the tech world. So the career progression of a tester is perceived potentially as not a great one from what I hear a lot,
Yep.
but it's a myth. There are so many things to do. If I tell you something called quality mindset, you will be really surprised as to how and where you can get involved. So let me give you this little bit of information. So a quality mindset is one where you basically have a way to develop your system in a much more sustainable manner. And whilst doing that, there are many opportunities testers can get involved with. And let me just name a few of them. There are actually many, many more. So things like defining a development process and the tools that should come in place and the architecture side of things. Actually, testers can be really, really handy here because of the way they think and they work. Um, we think outside of the box. We think about not just functional testing, we think about the non-functional side of things as well. And then working with all these things together, we could actually provide a good solution and test in a better manner as well. So these are things that testers can get involved. We can also build great foundations when it comes to documentation. So it may be a task that you might not be straight away interested in because it's documentation. But if you work on this documentation as a tester and put in your thoughts and processes in, it can lead to someone having a very, very comfortable read and not have all the stuff that you don't need to read. So testers come up with really, really great documentation. So you can get involved in that, including being part of strategizing your test, for example. Try and ask your peers that if you could support this and maybe you could have input in that, because that builds a quality mindset. Also, you want to define coding standards, not just for automation, but generally for your unit tests with developers, with front-end developers, back-end developers. You also want to talk about testing best practices as well, and guidelines that could help have a smoother process when you are trying to deliver this product. So again, testers come up with great ideas here, and you can get involved here. Other things are like static tools and static analysis. Detecting code smells earlier in your code base is a good way to be involved. Something that I always really found intriguing and interesting was every time when developers would merge their code, I would like to be part of that code review. I may not necessarily know exactly the ins and outs of that specific coding language, but if I pair up with a developer and they can tell me a little, like they can take me over this code like they're telling me a story, it just helps understand things better. And it helps pick out things that the developer might have not thought of or might have missed out. So working together, like pairing with a developer or any other stakeholder in your team actually helps a lot. And I say this thing all the time, pairing is caring. So if you can do it, it makes your work more enjoyable. It makes you think about other things and other aspects that you might not have thought just through your conversations. And again, it drives more quality mindset. And lastly, think about like the automation test suite you have and the pipelines that you might want to build for a CI/CD process. Testers can get involved in that because testers do test these pipelines. Testers do write automation tests. So it would be a great kind of area to be in. So this, in a nutshell, makes a quality mindset. And that's why I say when they talk about career progression, it's not a great career progression, or there's a lot of challenges when it comes to automation. Of course, in tech, there are challenges. But if we work together as a team, we care about quality as a team, things become more enjoyable. Like sometimes it's fun to take these challenges because you never know what you may learn at the end of it. And that's why I was saying that it's really, really good to be thinking around that aspect. And it's something that attracts testers towards it as well. Other things are like job title preferences, which are myths as well. Basically, just because you are a test analyst or a senior tester or a test manager or director of test, it doesn't make a developer better than you or a business analyst better than you. It doesn't work like that. It's all about you as a tester. It's all what you can bring to the table, just like other roles can bring. And specifically for testing, I think it's such a beautiful role because I normally describe it as a blank canvas. The reason I say that is because you can paint it the way you like. If you prefer going into the technical side and being like a software delivery, basically a software engineer in test, for example, and basically doing automation side of things, you want to do more of the unit test side of things, you can get as technical as you like. If you feel that that side's not comfortable for you, you can go in the more sort of business side of things and build your business acumen through your testing role. If you would like a further challenge, you can mix both of them together and actually even have that. So it's actually a role that is very dynamic, in my opinion. Yes, there might be certain times where you might be doing similar tests, but it doesn't mean that new things can't come in place or you can't introduce new things. I think I read somewhere in one of the comments when Joe was posting this advert on LinkedIn, that someone mentioned that their team is actually asking to do the tests as part of UI tests as part of unit tests rather than going with Playwright, Cypress, or any other tools. I personally feel use this situation as a tester and write a small prototype or an MVP and showcase it to your team and show them the benefits. Sometimes I know it's all to do with budget and timing and resourcing, but if you can and if you have got the time, if you do make a small little test on Playwright or Cypress and showcase it to your team and the value behind this, it's really, really great. And as I said, for that kind of situation, you should also go by an automation pyramid if you can, but a balanced pyramid. In what I mean by that is if you are trying to do UI tests, if your product is very UI heavy, make sure that your UI side of things are being accurately tested. That doesn't mean that you have to have millions of UI tests. You can have loads of API side of tests and then a lot of sort of unit tests, but make sure that you are testing the right areas, the right aspects. But say, for instance, if your product is not very UI related, you can have a heavy API and a heavy unit and a very tiny UI if that works for you. But all I'm trying to say is that play with the situation and see what's right in that moment. So that was more around the myths. And I wanted to mention one more thing was obviously people say that, I've heard actually, there's no exposure to testing in education, but this is a big, big issue. And it's a myth, but at the same time, as we spoke at the start, Test Guild is there. Other organizations like Ministry of Testing are there, Browser Stack, XLQ, Synapse QA, loads of companies, like even TestFlix. They are doing so much hard work to reach to more audience, to reach to more testers and educates them. So if you if you think there's not much, I think we should expand our research a bit more and get into these sort of what do you call it? Get in touch with these sort of organizations to learn more and more and build our acumen there. However, there's also one thing that scares a lot of people in testing, which I have learned in the past, is if a bug, for example, goes into production. A tester came up to me really scared once saying that I'm not going to test this one whenever it's fixed. And I was thinking, I literally went in a thinking mode. I was like, but why? What is so bad in this? I think it's a great challenge to actually go and test it in production. But obviously there are other implications, and that individual got stuck with low sides of things and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that testing is bad, right? That doesn't mean that we can't test in production and we should just be worried and we should switch into another role and never think about what happened, right? We want to try and bring the best to the table, bring a quality mindset, as I keep saying, to the table and test everything and anything that we can. So don't be worried if such situations come up. Sometimes it's a good learning. Always think about the positive impact. Yes, it may have stopped the team. It may have stressed out the team. But what did we learn at the end of it? Maybe we need more attention in a specific area. But never, never, never get worried that it's the tester's fault, because that is a big myth. It's not the tester's fault. It's everyone's responsibility, is what I want to say.
Absolutely.
But yeah. But these are like the misconceptions, obviously. And then obviously there's reasons why people like to switch as well. So one of the reasons which I mentioned was obviously titles, a cultural bias. can help people switch into other roles. And this sort of production issue may be like, oh, I can't tolerate this. I'm going to switch roles. I'm going to go somewhere more calm. But is that switch something that might be worthy of all the skills that you have learned all these years? Or if you are trying to get into testing from a different role, I think it's quite interesting that switch. And when I come to know people are really, really interested in testing and they want to get into it, it really gets me excited because I want to see why. Like, why are you interested? Because I don't hear this enough. So, what worries me sometimes is the switch from testing to another role because it's actually a role that you can play with the way you like, and with this right support in your team as well, you can explain your worries or sort of where would you like to base yourself. Maybe you want to change a team but continue with the same role and whatnot. But it's just the switch that worries me, that if people switch that easily, we might be missing important people in this role in the future. So if you are making a switch, think why you want to switch, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and like your testing skills will come handy. Yes, there can be times where testers might be going through a up and down time, a bit of a stressful time, but which company we don't find this kind of pressure in? But you can do other things. As I said, you can do the quality mindset options that I gave, the opportunities there, pair up with someone, even go out there in the community and learn new things, bring them back to work, or even participate in the community as you choose. So these are really, really interesting areas to be part of. And I would say testing is growing a lot. I know that AI is coming into place and people get worried, especially new testers. They go like, oh, my job's going to be taken by AI. I don't think so. I think what will be a problem is if we don't adapt with AI. If we are not going to use it, then we will lack that knowledge that we could have had. However, of course, with AI, we can't have everything tested, like the look and the feel. How are we feeling about this product? That's our human nature, and we need humans for that, the human touch. So don't forget about these things. But yeah, Joe, is there anything from your side that you'd like to sort of
Yeah, I mean,
talk about these myths?
a lot of things, especially the AI. I speak to a lot of people that are AI experts, like Jason Arbon, Tyreek
Mhm.
King. They're all
Yeah,
all in on AI. It's not like some people that they just poo poo it. They believe in AI, and they say if AI is really going to do what they think it's going to do, it's going to generate more code. And if it generates more code, what are you going to need? You need more testers
more
to
testing.
test that code, right? So I think it's the opposite. It's almost like developers will be not replaced. It'd be less developers, but you need more testers for sure. But what's interesting is in the chat, we have a lot of people trying to get into testing, which I'm surprised by.
Mm,
But it seems to be,
amazing.
you said there's a lot of opportunities for testers, but how about people that are new to testing? Is it hard to get a like an entry level job, or is it more there's a need for more experienced testers? And do you have any advice for people that maybe don't like they're trying to make a transition? Someone here is moving from a graphic designer, someone in YouTube is took a boot camp and it didn't work out for them. So any advice for people that are trying to get their foot in the door as a tester?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of material out there. I forgot to mention one board, which is Test Automation University. I think that is also a good way to start from. There's a lot of material we can learn literally on YouTube, for example, literally by going on Ministry of Testing, doing some challenges that they have there, just listening into some webinars, even Test Guild. There's a lot of rich knowledge that we already have and we can learn from. Yes, there are boot camps, but I'll be very honest, majority of the time I've seen boot camps, it's either in development or other sort of areas. For testing, it's a very, I think, very low percentage. And that's one thing that should be changed. Where I would like to suggest you is to maybe attend a conference for the first time and see how you feel. You will learn a lot of things. You will network with a lot of people. And you never know, you might land on your first ever job via that. Because sometimes when you talk your thoughts and the reasons of getting into testing, it may stick into someone's mind that, this person's thinking process was amazing when I was talking to them. So I'm going to see if there's any role available for them. But other than that, I would say connect on job boards. Sometimes even people mention it on their social media. If there's any testing roles out there, please do let me know. And I think that's a very bold sort of statement people go out with. It for me, for example, it will take a lot of guts to post something like that, but it's actually worked in a lot of favor for many people, and it's amazing how the community comes together and just wants to help. So I would suggest that. Then there's Slack channels as well, like these organizations that I mentioned earlier. They also have like job boards inside that. So mentioning what you want to kind of base yourself in, what you want to learn. Some people will come and help you. One important thing that I want to say is certifications. So
this could be controversial. Certifications.
So many people actually ask, do I need a certification? My answer to that is going to be a big it depends, and if it makes you happy, right? If you think this is going to aid you in your day-to-day job, by all means, go for it. But honestly, what matters the most is your experience, whether you get it through an internship, whether you get it through doing your own personal little project at home by just testing a login page, by just doing some accessibility testing, or just by making a project on Postman, for example. The knowledge that you'll gain from that is not what a certification can give you. However, if you feel that you want a board on your CV and you feel happy about such things, by all means go. However, I will be honest, I have done a certification, but I've never used it at work. My whole experience has come through situations and experiences from past jobs to make me who I am today. So that's what I would suggest, Joe.
I love it. I have a crazy idea. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. Tell me in YouTube or in the chat if you agree with this. Here's a hack I think would work if you're trying to get into testing. Open source tools are always looking for people to help them with documentation, right? You don't need to be an expert. You just volunteer to help with documentation. People start seeing your name. Like say you start contributing to documentation for Selenium. People will start seeing your name. You'll learn as you start documenting, and you'll open up opportunities. I've seen people actually get jobs from not just doing, but doing documentation, doing some high level things in the chats. Like you mentioned, Selenium has a really active Slack channel where you could just help at the very basics. And, I found that has been very beneficial. Certifications, I agree. I haven't seen anyone get a job with the certification except if it's security testing. So I know some people actually for security, you need certain certifications. So that's my 2 cents really quick. But yeah, definitely, I would think contributing to open source would help as well. I'm trying to look in the, some people give recommendations for learning. A lot of people have been mentioning Test Automation University, which is a good resource. So thank you, Kim, for that. A few people say Udemy. Penny says, good suggestion, Joe. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways, I think. But like you said, definitely, I'm going to push Automation Guild. We do have a community channel we need to join that has a job channel that you can join, and you'll get it. Every time there's a job posting, you get alerted for that. So yeah, just some quick thoughts there.
Oh, and I forgot to say, when I'm talking about AI, ChatGPT will really be super handy and your friend when it comes to interviews and stuff, because any question you're popping in there is actually helping you with it. So it's like you want to use these things because they're actually supporting you, and it just helps. Even I've been shocked. I was talking to my husband the other day. I was like, I put a question and I've got the entire section that I need, and I was like, where was this when I needed it before?
For sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, and of course, when it comes to attracting testing as well, I think other than community work and conferences, we don't really hear much about it unless someone posts it on their social media of how they work within their team and the support they get, which is really beautiful to read as well. So I think When it comes to attracting, I think it should be something that should be given to individuals, maybe when they're doing a diploma or when they're doing a course or even a degree. It should be provided, like this sort of nugget of role should be showcased. And maybe some workshops should be done so that when individuals are ready to kind of go on an internship or something, they know exactly what this is all about. I know sometimes testing gets confused with quality assurance. Now, these
Right.
two are very different things. Testing or quality engineering is all about checking what's the product's doing what it's intended to do. However, quality assurance is just making sure that you can sustain this product and the quality management behind this, and making sure that something that we're making is going to be delivered. But it's not about going to the deep end and checking the ins and outs and just making sure that the whole thing is a great product and it's whatnot. So, first of all, this differentiation should be clear, because you don't want to end up being hired as a quality assurance person and you actually wanted to do testing. So, obviously, read up on these things as well. And I think what we need to do is attract more for these roles. So obviously, we want to showcase more career progression out there. So of course, everyone will start at an analyst level in an internship, maybe, but there is always a progression. Now, the progression can be something in a very simple manner, which is not very hierarchical, and you can end up becoming a principal tester, and that's like the highest you can go, or a director. But there can be other hierarchical progressions, which could mean that you're an analyst, then you become a senior tester, you can jump into leadership after that, or depending on how you show your skill set, you might jump to leadership earlier. Then there's management, senior management, head of, director, and then there is progression, but it all depends on what you are looking for. And every company has different titles. So don't go by titles as well. It's how they choose to be, and depending on how they see the progression as well. If it's hierarchical, then it will be you might have a head off at the end. If it's very flat, then you might just be known as a principal tester after few promotions. Also, the way to more attraction to testing comes through basically collaboration in communities as well. So, as I was mentioning some names before, sign up to them, register to them, and see all the fun stuff that comes up to you and events that come up to you. As I said, sometimes it may not be feasible to go there in person, but doing it online or just listening in whilst you're working can change your point of view on certain things. So, be part of these communities. And I will tell you that when I joined testing, I had none of this. And now when I see this, I really, really feel thankful that they exist, because it is amazing the amount of hard work people are putting behind this. And if you want to obviously contribute, that's kudos to you, because you've actually learned a lot and now you want to participate and you want to give your best to it. So it's amazing to be part of the community. Gives you this special vibe that you want to give back. Also, wherever you join, a reason to stay in this role should also be the positive team and testing culture in that team. That also means a lot of retainment of testers. Testers want to be part of that because either their leader is people's person and they care for them and they want to support them throughout. They're giving the right coaching, the mentorship for this person to actually have an amazing progression. When you have people like this in your team, you actually want to be part of that family, and you might not want to look at other roles elsewhere. Or vice versa. If this doesn't exist in your team, you don't feel attracted to this job, and you might want to keep jumping into different jobs until you feel settled or completely switch, as I was talking earlier. Also, we want to address any stereotypes or misconceptions, and this should be something that should be done within your team. If you do feel that other members are talking about testing being negative or testers doing certain things that are not positive, please do voice your opinions and do talk to someone who will support you and basically tell you that this is a misconception, and do not keep this within yourself. Apart from that, I would say be the creative you, be the ambiguous you, because we need this. We need this in the market. If we are not going to bring some ambiguity or curiosity to the table, how can we test our products with edge cases? How can we actually think differently? So it's amazing to think like that. Don't think that you always think differently. And one other thing that I've actually noticed in a lot of teams is there might be a person within your team or a tester who thinks strongly about something else, and you think strongly about something else. And you might have a majority of people thinking similar to you, but this other person or two people might be thinking differently. Now, take this as a great, great opportunity and a challenge. Don't ever think that your work's getting hindered or stopped because there's one person that thinks differently. If that person thinks differently, let them bring the stuff onto the table, because you never know how that challenge can turn into a great opportunity where your work and the testing team and just the team culture can be showcased to other teams of like how we work and how we care about quality and how we're growing the quality mindset in the entire engineering area. So use that different sort of thinking, that challenge that one individual might be thinking, rather than thinking that, you know what, we all believe in this, so we'll follow this route and we'll just not listen to this. It's really important to listen to everything. And that's where you feel supported and the retainment percentage is higher there. Apart from that, as testers today, there is so much support. Okay, there is a lot of people out there in the community who want to speak to you, who want to understand where you want to be, and they'll mentor you throughout it. So reach out to the right sort of communities and put your questions out there. Be there for your team. So if today you have joined us as a manager, who might be an engineering manager or a leader, I would say be there for your team and be a people's person, because sometimes, of course, it's not just for testers, but everyone else might need that bit of TLC within the team. So be there for them. Otherwise, you see these switches happening very quickly as well. Coach your testers, show them also their unfound potentials. So what I went through was I didn't know that I had a certain potential until I spoke to someone. And then I was like, right, why did I not know about myself before? Like, this is really amazing. And I can do so many things. And that's what's kept me going on and on and on. And I will continue going on. I still get my dad sometimes telling me, why don't you move into another role? And I'm like, no, I'm loving it here. So it's very easy to kind of get these sort of thoughts in your mind. That's all I'm trying to say. Avoid any sort of situations of micromanagement, and think of retaining, as I say. Sometimes micromanagement has also led to big myths, and also micromanagement is in real form really negative situation to be in. So that's also made loads of testers switch. So if we're trying to attract testers, if we are trying to get more testers hired, we want the world to know that we need testers, we should not do micromanagement, because you should give that autonomy to testers who are experienced and who can work on their own. But of course, if they need help, they will ask for it. But for the new testers, to be there as a support and mentor them and coach them into it, rather than manage them, because then it's very easy for them to feel not wanted in the team and pressurized at all times. So that's what I would suggest when it comes to attracting testers. But yeah, I mean, Joe, do you have any other good options to attract any more testers?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's really a cultural thing. You want to be as inviting as possible. You want to make sure that they see it as not just a stepping stone. Sometimes, for some reasons, people just see testing as a stepping stone. You give it the prestige that it deserves, and I've seen companies have career paths for testers, and they tend to retain testers better when you have like a real like a entry level. You have a like a career, like rather than just making everyone managers after a certain level. You have like principal testers tend to really help. I think having like a roadmap for your team, for a tester to say, hey, not only is testing is important, but I can move up the ladder without having to change jobs and reach a pinnacle seems to be helpful.
Yeah. Or like something called a skills matrix as well is really handy, because if you have this pinpointed in your company or your team, then you know exactly what's next for me. And that should basically be exciting enough for you to go towards it.
Absolutely. So Penny
Yeah.
did a good link here for Angie Jones had a 10 portfolio projects for automation engineers, which I think is a really good resource. I'll try to include it in the email. It just helps you really stand out among your competitors if you're being, you're going up against other people, and you have these things in your portfolio. That's another thing that could probably help you get hired as a tester. So thank you, Penny, for that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm just happy to see people here that are new and they're trying to get into testing because it's something like you said, something that both of us really believe is a valuable
Yeah.
skill and a valuable function in society. Actually, I don't know.
Absolutely. And I forgot to mention something. Do not get put off if you see job specs out there asking for ISTQB.
Oh, right. Yep.
Please still apply. Still apply, because you as a tester are different, and the person interviewing you doesn't know who you are. So how will a certification make a big difference, right? So showcase yourself, showcase your work, showcase any sort of projects you've done in your personal time, your own brand, your own portfolio. And that should be the key skill to showcase who you are as a tester rather than any certification today.
No, it's a great point. I used to hire people and I never looked at where they went to school, if they had a degree. All I cared about was if they could do something. If they could prove to me they were able
Yeah,
to do something, that's all that mattered. So if someone had a portfolio like that and they didn't have a degree, I didn't have a degree. I had I, I had nothing, and I was able to get a job because I was able to show I was able to do something. And so that's something that I think, like you mentioned, be able to
yeah,
show and during an interview. Don't be turned off by certain requirements in there that may not even make sense
exactly.
because sometimes the person posting the job is just throwing things out there that don't apply.
Exactly. Exactly. So never get put off. There's a lot of opportunities. Take it happily, embrace it. Don't be put off by certain things on job specs. But yeah,
Awesome. So we have a lot of questions coming, Laveena. Is there anything else you want to share before we get to the question portion of the session?
I think use all of the stuff that is out there for you. A lot of the community is there to help you. Use your quality mindset and share that mindset in the team as well, if that doesn't exist. Fresh ideas are always welcome, and especially innovative ideas from testers and their curiosities are and should always be welcome. So don't ever feel that a testing job is boring or you're not getting a lot of traction to it. It's something that should come within the company to bring that attraction and retain people.
Love it. So interestingly, in the chat, someone's saying, "Does age matter?" I guess they're older. They're not as old as me. Uh, I say no, but any thoughts on that? Age? People always sometimes
No,
come up with the too young, too old, too Joe.
absolutely
I
not.
don't know.
I think depending on your age as well, you should have a wealth of knowledge. It shouldn't really be age dependent. That's just a number. But I don't know. You shouldn't be worried about age at all. It's the way you think. You should have that quality mindset going forward. You should show that you can do different types of testing or are interested in testing. There's a lot of material out there that can help you understand the ins and outs of testing. You can focus in the non-functional side, you can focus in the functional or a mix of both, but there's always something for someone. That I must say.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to some of these questions. This is a good question, Benjamin. Thank you for this. So I'm curious to know how Laveena's going to answer
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
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 How much manual
So
testing do you need to know to, if you're going to go for automation testing as a specialty?
I would say you can't automate everything. So you should know manual testing. As I said, the look and the feel, for example, it can't be automated. Certain things in like modeling, you can't automate everything. You can't automate what you want to do, for example, because automation might not understand what you want to do. But going back to the question, you should start everything, I would say, with manual testing. and then slowly move towards automation. All the repetitive work, all the stuff that can be done by automation, anything that's not changing can be automated. So I would say your main layer at the bottom, your base layer, should start from manual and then slowly move to automation. However, if you are keen in coding and you've done it before and you want to be a software developer in test, then of course, feel free to start with automation. But don't forget to do exploratory testing as well, which can be automated, but it's also interesting when it's done manually as well. So that's what I would answer. I
Awesome.
hope that was helpful,
Yeah,
Benjamin.
for sure. Thank you, Benjamin. Drop it in the chat if you want more clarification. Here's another a good one. I probably get asked all the time. Do you need to learn coding
Yeah.
before looking for a junior position?
I get this question so many times. I'll be honest, in my uni days, when I got told there is something called Java, I got confused. Are you talking about the coffee beans?
Right.
So then I was like, what is Java? And I didn't like it at all. I will be honest. And then I landed into a testing job. And to be honest, I only learned coding in my job because we were moving from manual to automation in a very small span of time. So I had to go over what C# is all about, how does it work with SpecFlow and all sorts. But no, you do not need to learn coding before you look for a junior position. However, it's always good to sort of, listen about these things. So say, for example, you're going to go into a team of data science. So it would be really useful if you just skim over what Python is about. You don't have to know Python, but just an idea. So if you ever wanted to do some code reviews, like pair code review with a developer, you kind of get the gist of what's happening.
Yeah, totally
But it's
agree.
not a requirement.
Yeah, it's very helpful to understand it, though. You need to be able to have conversations with developers. Don't necessarily need to know how to do it, but at least understand what people are talking about so you contribute. I think it's helpful, but you don't need to be a pro. I wasn't a programmer. I taught myself. I had a tool called Load Runner that used C underneath the covers, and I just typed in C directly into Load Runner and to learn programming. Anyway, so I learned on the job, and I think a lot of people do the same as well. All right,
Yeah.
next question here is, so why always someone? Why would someone judge testers based on the testing profile or QA? Do you see that if they have that on their profile that they look down on? I don't know if I get the question. Hold on. Why always someone judge testers based on the testing profile or QA?
Mm. I'm a bit confused what you mean here. Is it something to do with um, just because you're a tester, you're being judged? Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe I think
Is
some teams
is
only
that
look
what
for
you understand, Joe?
developers. Like developers are good, and testers are like just useless, is what I'm assuming.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe, yeah,
Yeah, because many times teams go like developers can test their own work,
yeah.
but why should they? Will they think out of the box like testers do? Oh, so basically you need testers in place. So if you get judged, I think you should actually go to that interview. I'd love to. I'd actually sell testing so well in that situation. Like embrace these situations. You know why? Because that education is required there. So as I said, another reason to attract testers is that education out there to tell why testers are required. Many times they go like, we don't have the budget for a tester in this team, so we're just going to get the developer to test their work. But that is not great. That is not really, I'm never going to judge a developer's work, but when you can have a tester and they can think differently and they can bring a lot of things on the table, then why would you want a person who's developing their code to test their code as well? Like when you can basically make use of a tester and their mindset. So I would suggest in such situations, don't ever feel that you're getting judged. I think that should go in a misconception, but actually go there and tell them the need of a tester in this project.
Yeah. Here's another question I get asked all the time, and I guess it's somewhat common. It's in the chat? Would you be able to suggest a path from how I get from being a manual QA to an automation tester? I have a hack I did, but I'm curious to know your thoughts before I go off on mine.
Yeah, from manual to automation, I think it's a nice little process. Obviously, you're not going to become an automation tester overnight, but take it, be gentle to yourself and be kind to yourself, is what I'm going to say. Obviously, there's loads of things out there for you now, especially at the Automation Guild, Test Automation University. I would definitely suggest looking into these areas. Even a simple YouTube sometimes can solve situations, but transition in a way that you understand what you're doing. You're not just doing it for the sake of it, like you're not just writing these test cases and automating them just like without understanding them, because otherwise we won't ever learn. So my suggestion would be like pair with someone who knows a lot about this. So say, for example, a lead in the team who's actually leading this. I would suggest pair with them, try and understand everything, how they do it, and then find your sort of main point of how you can make this happen on your side. So you've learned everything from the lead, you're pairing, you're basically learning this on the side as well. And then now it's time for you to showcase it. So automation doesn't come in one day, as I said, it will take time. And be kind to yourself. I think when it came to me, it took me a good 1 year to kind of settle with or say to someone, yes, I can do automation. I did not say to no one within months that I can do automation. So just be gentle and have a slow transition. Of course, sometimes there are situations in a project where they want you to do it ASAP, right? But for that, they should provide some sort of training. So if you don't have training, there's no support for you, right? So that's another thing that makes testers get really pressurized and think, do I belong in this team? Because we are not being thought about. So always look for the right sort of support training and then slowly, slowly move to it. No need to rush. That's what I'm going to say.
Right. What I'll say is I never look at my job title. I started off as a tester, not an automation engineer. And a lot of manual things I was doing. I'm like, hey, I bet I probably can use something to help speed this up. And so I wasn't sitting around waiting for my manager to say, thou shalt do automation, thou can do automation. I would just do it. I would do
Mhm.
performance testing. No one asked me to do performance testing. Wasn't part of my job title. Security testing wasn't part of my job title, but I would start adding value and then showing them, hey, look, this was a process I was doing manually. I automated it, saved 10% of my time or something. And all of a sudden, I'm doing more and more automation. I became the
Yeah.
automation guy just because I just took initiative. I mean, it sounds easy, but I think I know a lot of people would sit in their cube and just wait for the training and wait to be told to do something. And it's never
Yeah.
going to happen unless you just do it and show initiative. And then,
Proactive.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Be proactive.
absolutely. All right, cool.
Absolutely.
I think those are all the questions we have time for. Laveena, I think you have something special though. If someone wanted more coaching, we got a lot of questions here from beginners that may want to take a deeper dive into their situation. Do you offer any type of coaching, any other assistance? I think I heard you
Yeah.
did something like that.
Yes, so I do coaching for results. It's really fun and an interesting process because just with open-ended questions, you can actually untangle yourself from situations. And I found that really fulfilling for myself. And I thought, why not help others out there as well? So if you do feel like you need coaching and just to get you into this role, or you might have a situation at work. If you are a tester already, that we can untangle together, then feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. And obviously, it excites me just to see that you are into testing or you want to become a tester. So, more than happy to help and support there.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Laveena. Really appreciate it. And like I said, I'll be sending an email with Laveena's information, contact info if you want to learn more. She's very helpful, and as you can tell. So thank you, Laveena, for sharing your awesomeness with us at the Guild today. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, it was hopefully an informative session. This is being recorded, and I will send the recording out to you after. Great advice from Laveena. Definitely check out the coaching. I'll have links in the email in a few days, sending you away. If you haven't and you're looking for a community, if you really want to learn how to be an automation engineer, really up your automation skills, click on that Learn More tab. Check out Automation Guild. It's going to be the 8th annual online event, and you could save 20% by using that code there. But great crowd. Thank you, everyone, for chatting, all your questions. Really appreciate it. Thank you all the folks on YouTube. You were awesome. Let's see. It's hard to look at both YouTube and the video and the webinar chats, but thank you, Kim, for all your questions there. And like I said, if you could fill out a quick survey as well that we'll make live right now. Hold on. Hopefully, I don't know if Stephanie made it live yet. So I'm going to make a quick survey live in Podio. It is live. If you could just click on the Q&A tab and just fill out that survey, it really will help us plan how to make more sessions that are going to help you and benefit you in 2024. All right, so that's all we have. And sorry, I'm kind of dragging things out because I forgot to have the right thank you screen. So I'm just say thanks. And we'll go back to the dancing Sanders. I'll keep the stream open for a little bit while you can fill out that survey. And as always, test everything to keep it good. Thank you everyone for all your support over the year. And hopefully we'll see you next year and at Automation Guild. Cheers. And thank you, Laveena. And